Everyone says 151 is safe, safe modern, safe nostalgia, a safe long-term hold. But safe doesn't actually really mean rare, and it certainly doesn't translate to explosive growth. Today we're starting 151 week properly, my favorite ultramodern set. But is 151 actually a safe investment, or are we just all emotionally attached? This is my favorite ultramodern set. Original 151. Instant recognition. You don't have to explain Charizard to anyone. I mean, you might have to explain the Jinx card to someone, but that's a different issue. The point is, this set sells itself. But loving a set and investing in a set are really different games. One is about vibes, the other is about supply and demand. My name is Packaday Joker, and I like to talk about the Pokemon market in this crazy modern time, with live selling, auctions, eBay, marketplace, all the different ways that our hobby has changed away from just big box stores and the hobby stores. Please consider subscribing if you want to hear me talk more about my favorite ultramodern set, 151. And I'm just setting up to do a show and sell some singles, so I'm just going to do some quality checks in the background while I'm talking about my favorite ultramodern set, 151. There are three reasons people call 151 safe. The first is just nostalgia. These Pokemon are cultural anchors. I don't need to list them all off for you to know that Pikachu, Charizard, Blastoise, they are cultural anchors beyond Pokemon and just into broader cartoon culture itself. They're huge. They're really, really big deals. The second is broad demand. 151 brought back in lapsed collectors. That's pretty much a full stop. People talk about the TCG app, all these different things that brought people back into the hobby. But for me and for many other people, 151 reinvigorated my love for the trading card game. Then Surging Sparks came along and blew it all up and made it 1,000 times more crazy. But parents, casual buyers, people that are now parents that have kids that are old enough to get into Pokemon as well, 151 is this broad trigger and the demand was pretty absurd. The third one is just brand power. 151 is good marketing. Compare it to something like Evolving Skies. Evolving Skies was pretty good marketing, but 151 is just a powerful saying. It summarizes the entire set. It describes it well. Evolving Skies was like alt art hype plus a whole heap of scarcity, and that's what made it so famous, and the price has made it even more famous. But 151 is identity. It feels foundational, and that feels safe. But that's where the problem comes in. 151 was printed hard. Opened hard graded card, ripped relentlessly on live streams, but it was opened nonetheless. And if tens of thousands of copies exist in high graded cards of 151 ultra rares, or the SIRs, then they're not that rare. They're popular, and that's a good thing because popularity gives liquidity, but it's scarcity that drives growth. So maybe we need to think about what the safe actually is. Safe means 151, it's not going to be forgotten. It probably won't collapse, and it probably survives the cycle even when Pokemon dips again. That is safe, that is valuable, and that is probably worthy of having the set described as safe. But safe does not mean that 151 will double next year. Honestly, in terms of like growth and explosive possibility, Destined Rivals, now that booster boxes aren't going to be printed, is probably a better bet. And Prismatic, I know they printed those ETBs into the ground, but it is a fiendishly popular set that is incredibly well crafted with insane rarities. 151 is steady, it is slow, it is boring. So if you do invest in 151, you got to be pretty okay with boring. I will say though, even though it is not scarce, 151 is extremely liquid. You can sell 151 sealed, like click your fingers, it's gone. You can sell bundles at any time. Like you can list them at basically any price. People will snap them up. You can sell 151 singles so easily. If I put them up on like the show that I'm doing in front of you right now, they will all sell and they'll all sell well. That is a huge strength of 151. But again, it's not that scarcity, and scarcity is what would send the price absolutely vertical. So right now, even though you can't really find it anywhere in retail, 151 is still really liquid. It is not scarce. Yet. But let's be honest. Half of us say that 151 is safe just because we literally already own it, and nothing feels safer than what is already sitting in your cupboard. But that's just emotional bias. But here's my overall take. 151 is one of the strongest ultra-modern long-term holds. I'm pretty well all in on it. I love 151. But that's not because it's rare. That's not because the hits are that difficult to hit. It's just because it's foundational. It feels spiritually closer to WotC than basically any other modern set or anything from the Sword and Shield era. It's the foundations first. I do think it will appreciate later. But if you're expecting fireworks next month, even in this insane market, even with the crazy growth at things that have already happened with 151, I think you're going to be disappointed. But if you're thinking 5 years, that's going to be a really different story. This is day one of my 151 week. Tomorrow, I'm going to break down the current state of 151 investing, including what you can actually get, what underprinted products have gone ridiculous in price, quote ETBs, with real pricing, real sentiment, and we can talk real supply. If we're talking something safe, we need to know what we're standing on.